No tech stack, no playbook, no AI prompt is ever going to get you that ultimate breakthrough, that legacy status, that hockey stick growth. It just won't. What gets you there is brand, your story, your why, and the emotional connection you build with your buyers. No one buys from you because you're great at executing a playbook. They buy because of who you are, what you stand for, and ultimately what you stand for them. And that's a quote from Lindsay Tjepkema and a sneak peek at today's episode. Hey there, I'm Kerry Curran, revenue growth consultant, industry analyst, and host of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. Every episode, I sit down with top experts to bring you actionable strategies that drive real results. So if you're serious about growth, find us in your favorite podcast directory, hit subscribe, and start crushing your competition today. In a world obsessed with AI, tech stacks, and templated playbooks, one thing still drives real, scalable B2B growth, and that's your brand. In Your Brand is Your Future, Scaling B2B Revenue Beyond Playbooks and Tech Stacks, we're joined by Lindsay Tjepkema. She's an industry leader, 3-time founder, and brand strategist. Lindsay and I unpack why your story, your values, and your emotional resonance matter more than any tool in your stack. Be sure to listen until the end, where Lindsay shares her tips for convincing CEOs to own and invest in brand. So if you're serious about long-term revenue, it's time to get serious about brand. Let's go. So welcome, Lindsay. Please introduce yourself and share your background and expertise.
Sounds great. Well, I'm Lindsay Tjepkema. I am founder of Human Brands Win, and I come into that with 20 plus years in B2B marketing and as a 3-time founder, including several years as a venture-backed SaaS founder and CEO. And so now I take all of that and I help B2B brands and founders and executives grow their businesses through brand, content, and story as a foundation.
Excellent. Well, we're so excited to have you here today, Lindsay. I first saw you up on stage at B2B MX back B2B West earlier this month or last month. Can't even keep track. And loved your presentation so much. So grateful to have you join us today. So I know you're in a lot of conversations with business leaders and CEOs. Like, what are you hearing today? Like, what's the buzz around B2B marketing and branding?
Everything is, I think, 5 letters? Everything is GTM and AI. Everything, everywhere. And the funny thing is, I don't think that anyone really knows what either of those things mean, honestly. Which is quite ironic.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely hearing the buzz around those as well. And it seems to be a lot of rush to, we need to have AI, we need to be using AI, and we need to shift to go to market. But kind of what are the what are you hearing? Like, what are the challenges, I guess, to taking that like quick step to just trying to fill in the acronyms?
So everyone, AI, it's obviously everyone's living it. Everyone is just like, how do we adopt it? How do we go faster? So that's like one thing over here on its own island. GDM, go to market, it's good, it's solid, it's real. But I think that the obsession with it is that there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of scarcity in the world, but especially we're feeling it obviously very much in B2B, B2B SaaS, B2B marketing. The market has shifted. Sales cycles are not what they used to be. Budgets are absolutely not what they used to be. Teams aren't what they used to be. Buying decisions and buying committees are not what they used to be. And so as a result, there's a ton of pressure driven by fear and the need to somehow, some way deliver results. And so people are just jumping on this, well, let's go to market. go to market means results. Go to market means selling and growing, and it's revenue centric. And so I think that that's the challenge, is that that's the goal. And so everybody's in the middle trying to figure out, like, well, then therefore what does that mean? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for us? Right. What does that mean for our team and our strategy?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm seeing that as well. It's, it's so sales driven, and it's, what we need another technology partner in our tech stack. We need our own, another like MarTech SaaS to get more signals and feed into this and that. And yet I think it's a fair amount of a sea of sameness when it comes to a lot of these brands. And so it's, it's, especially now, as you point out, it is a buyer's market. Buyers, we've seen the data from Sixth Sense and other sources of it. Buyers are spending so much more time researching and understanding and making their short lists, that you can have all the tech stack in the world, and that's not going to really help you resonate.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that I talked about at B2BMX was like, everyone's playbooks is another. What's your go-to-market playbook? And no tech stack, no playbook, no AI prompt is ever going to get you to that ultimate breakthrough, that legacy status, that hockey stick growth, that legendary like place in people's mind. It just won't. It won't. They are tools that might be able to help you get there. And just like you said, it's all of those things are, it's a sea of sameness. Like, best case scenario is you're mediocre and you're driving mediocre results, and you're treading around in the sea of sameness. And the one thing that I think we're kind of paddling around here is like, well, what helps you stand out? What helps you actually find that special place in your buyer's heart and in their budget? And it's brand. And like no one likes that answer except all of the brand people who are like, yeah, myself included.
Finally.
But people don't like that answer. They don't want that to be the answer. They want the answer to be in the tech stack or in the playbook or in unlocking a framework. And it's like, or in sales, like, well, if we just invest more into sales or efficiency, and like all of those things might be part of it. No one's going to buy from you because you're really good at implementing a playbook. That's just, it's because of who you are. It's because of what you stand for. And ultimately it's because of what you stand for them.
No, I love that. And I think it's a challenge though, because we've been in the world of performance marketing or trackable, customer acquisition costs and, time to sale. And yet brand is a squishier, it's a squishier part of the strategy. It's needed, but when CFOs can't see the direct correlation, it's a challenge to kind of convince them. So like, what do you see as you're talking to your peers and clients? Like, how do you convince them that they need to make this investment in brand?
Yeah. I mean, okay. So a couple of things there. As we know, not everything that matters can be measured, and not everything that can be measured matters. And some people get that. Some people don't. Some can be convinced of that. Some just can't. And I've been on every side. I have worked with board members and investors and team members and bosses and CMOs and CEOs, like all throughout my life. And it has been something. It's been a battle that we've been fighting for. This is not new. It's been long fought. So how do you convince someone? Well, you can point to things like I said, when I was on stage, it was like, think about any brand that's made it. Think about any, literally I'll wait, like just sit there and be like, what brands, what businesses are really crushing it right now?
Yeah.
And then be like, okay, how do you think they're doing that? And it's like, okay, well, they have, and any answer that whoever you're talking to gives is like, well, their sales team, well, they're this and this. And it's like, right. But why? And just keep asking, but why? And ultimately you're going to come down to clarity of message, like clarity of solution. They're marketing the solution and they really fully understand their audience and their buyers and the problems that they solve. They're not selling features, they're selling holistic, life-changing solutions, no matter what they're selling. And that's brand. And I think that that's part of it too, is that people tend to think that brand is redesigning logos and like adjusting color palettes. And it's not. It is literally the foundation holding up the entire business. It's your why. And it's how you tell people and make people feel that why. It's the whole thing.
Yeah, no. And it's so important, to your point. Like it's the why, it's the messaging, it's this is how we are going to make your life better, whether I'm a consumer product or, a SaaS product, to my target audience. This is what I solve. These are the outcomes I drive, and making that part of a narrative that really, gets the point and hones in on them and how you want them to feel. So it's such an important aspect, but it's a challenge. And I love what you said about not everything that can be measured, matters. And, and not everything that matters can be measured. And it's a challenge. And I know there's ways out there to see, and I think, if there's brand lift or there's like, more comments
correlations.
Yeah. And we used to even just look at search volume, branded search volume, and it's, so there's definitely ways to do it, but, as a whole, it is more squishy, but it's, and I often tell people, they have to, your audience has to have heard of you, like first and foremost, and then they have to believe that you have what they need. And that's branding. And so it's so important. So by the time people get to you, it seems like they understand that, but kind of how do you help them then dive into that and help them either whether it's kind of revamping or relaunching their brand? How do you get them really thinking about that?
Yeah, so you're right. By the time people get to me, so I mean, like we've waded through the marketplace, and there's all of this turmoil and these battles being fought about whether or not brand matters. And because I'm talking about it all the time, by the time somebody gets to me, they know we're going to talk about brand. Yeah. So how do we do it? I'm just like Simon Sinek. I start with why, and I get into like, why are we here? Why are we here? If I get to talk to a founder, it's like, why are you here? Like being a founder, I can tell you from firsthand experience, is not the easy, glamorous path. It is really hard. It is gritty. It is not pretty. It's not glamorous at all. It's the hard path. And so you've got to be really, really passionate about it. And there are usually some really incredible stories there that are not just good stories. Your audience, they're differentiators. They are your unique value propositions. They are reasons people will buy from you. There are reasons people will trust you. So that's one. Also talking to customers and understanding their why. Like, why are you here? Why are you buying from this company? And why do you stay? And why do you use the product? And from there, I mean, that builds the foundation of like some of the differentiators and how we talk to customers and how we get away from that, like just talking about features. No one cares about features. Everybody cares about, hey, like, what's this actually going to do for me as the buyer? So we start there and go through this whole process of like, how do we tell the stories? How do we tell the human stories? How do we build up the personal brands of the people behind the business and the brand itself? And how do they fuel each other? And then eventually, once that's all said and done, we get into the BRAVE framework that I shared at B2BMX.
Hey everyone, it's me, Kerry Curran. If you're a B2B company that sells to marketers, whether you're an agency, MarTech, or AdTech, and your revenue is either flattening, declining, or just not growing fast enough, I can help. I've spent my entire career selling, marketing, and servicing marketers, so I know firsthand the challenges they face, the buying decisions they make, and what actually moves the needle. The truth is, most marketing strategies aren't built for revenue growth, but mine are. As your fractional Chief Growth Officer, I'll bring revenue-focused marketing strategies designed specifically for selling to marketers, deep expertise in agency, MarTech, and AdTech buying behaviors, modern go-to-market strategies that include everything from brand awareness to driving loyalty and retention, and a track record of doubling and even tripling revenue for B2B companies just like yours. So if you're tired of your stagnant results and you're ready to build a marketing engine that actually drives revenue, let's talk. Visit revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn to schedule a consultation. Together, let's build a smarter, more profitable path forward. RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, we're revenue-based marketing that works. Excellent. No, it's so, I love your framework too, because hearing from the customers is so important because they might have, and they might have a different reason. They might tell you, actually, we subscribe to you for X, but I found that's really helped me with Y. And then that gives you a whole new value prop too. So I think that's an important step that I don't think enough people do. And it's part of my framework with my clients because I've learned from, different areas of that you need to get to that why and that outcome that they're driving. So.
Yeah. One thing quite often when I'm talking to like a prospect or a customer, there's two ends of the spectrum. They usually, and sometimes they happen at the same time, which is really funny. They usually go, nope, we know our customers. We know who we're working with. We don't need to do any of that. Or we need to do customer research, market research. Sometimes that's true for sure. I mean, market research is very important, but a lot of the time it's not needed. It's not necessary. Right. It's like, wait, can we just talk to your customers? How often do you talk to your customers? I talk to my customers every day. Cool. But like, about what? About issues they're having? Like, especially having a third party come in and like really get into the nitty gritty about like, why are you here? And like record those conversations and use them as great content. So yeah, I think that's an observation too, is that you don't know your customers as well as you think you do. And you also don't need a $10 billion market research study.
No, I definitely agree. And again, it's about getting those insights that are going to help really differentiate your brand. So tell us about the BRAVE framework.
Sure. Yes. Okay. So thinking BRAVE is ultimately, it's a mindset. It's a framework that helps you make decisions. Okay. So you got your brand in place. Like for me, it comes into play. I kind of run through it at the beginning and say, this is how we're going to be thinking about things. But then also as we go along and we're making decisions about strategy and are we going to do this? Are we going to invest over here? Are we going to hire this team? It's those decisions. It's absolutely something that leaders can use. It's absolutely something that individuals can use as they're going about their day and prioritizing their list. It's also something you can use personally to make like life decisions, personal brand decisions. Okay. And what it is it's thinking BRAVE. B is brand. R is relationships. A is audacity. V is values. And E is energy. So you're coming up on a decision, you think about that decision, and you ask yourself, okay, is doing this thing in alignment with my brand? You need to have a brand and understand your brand to be able to answer that question. But does it help me position my brand how I want it to be positioned long term? R is, does this thing that I'm thinking about doing help me establish or strengthen relationships with people that I want to know, like, and trust me or us long term? Long term being key. It's not a flash in the pan. You're not going for the masses. Right. It's are we resonating with the right people? A is audacity. Is it audacious? Are we thinking too small? Are we playing it safe? Or did we at least hold space for some creativity and some real innovation? V is values. First of all, you have to have values. You have to know your values, not just up on the wall. But you have to know the brand's values to be able to say, is this in alignment with our values? Does it uphold and strengthen our values? Or is it something that we think is just going to get us attention? And then E, this is the one that's a little bit more elusive, but it's really important, is does this drive positive energy? Does it feel right? Does it feel like it could be a really good thing? It's going to drive energy for everybody that's involved. So there you go. And if you answer yes to all of those things, then you get a green light. If you have a no or a question mark for any, you have to like no exceptions. You have to stop and fix the no's and the question marks before you can move forward. Otherwise, it's not going to reach its full potential. It's not going to be what you think it could be.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the framework. And it's different, right? It's not, to your point, it's not just a brand or marketing exercise, but it ties back to your business goals. And even with go to market, with one of the things I love about the go to market strategy movement is that it really ties to the clients that are the customers that are going to be your long term
Yes.
lifetime value. And I think tying that back into your brand strategy is so important, because you're not just trying to be everything to everybody and bring in
Mm-hmm.
everyone who actually will pay. It's like, who's going to grow with us? But
Yes.
I'm sure it's like a bit of a challenge as you're coaching your clients through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are the hardest kind of points that you hit?
Um, I think some of the hardest things are time and time again. It's like people, especially when I'm dealing with leaders, like the CEO or something. It's like they want it to be for someone else.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so the marketing team's going to use this when they decide whether or not to invest in brand.
Mhm.
But I know that we're just going to go do this thing, and I'm like, can we at least like walk through it really
Yeah.
quick? Because I don't know that this actually is audacious. I think that you're
Yeah.
playing it really safe, and
Yeah.
that can be tough, is getting everybody on board. But the nice thing is it's such common sense, and it creates a
Mhm.
shared language that you can just be like, I don't think that that's really in alignment with our values.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and again, that's, to me, that's where brand lives. It's like,
Mhm.
this is the thing. This is how we should be making decisions
Yeah.
about where we invest these really precious resources that we have.
Yeah. No, that's helpful. And so I guess, are there more ways, or kind of how are you, for the CEOs that are kind of hitting that block, like what more can you, or have you kind of used to help them really understand the importance?
Um, I have them go back, and sometimes we'll talk through things that didn't work. Um,
Mhm.
whether it's things that didn't work for the business, if at times that there was a campaign that failed. And also, like, think about a time that you were really frustrated. Think about a time that you were really disappointed, that you were just like upset. Why? And well, this happened, or like, well, yeah, you're this person that, and I'm like, okay, let's go back to that thing. Was it in alignment with brand? Did it, is that thing that you did it strengthen or uphold relationships with people that matter? Like, and when we can identify the thing, the place or places where it went wrong, they start to go, okay, I get it. And it's like, well, I mean, that person wasn't a fit because they did not align with your values at all.
Yeah.
And when we can start to go back and look at some of the mistakes or challenges or, detours, and look at why that happened, that's when the light bulb starts to go off.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful, and again, so valuable, because it really needs to be the foundation that before you start expanding your team or spending more money on your sales, it's knowing who you are, why you are there, and how you're going to help. So
Mm-hmm.
so valuable.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So for people who are listening and they're like, this is brilliant, I wanted to get started, like, what are the foundations they need to have in place? Like, what's kind of the level of readiness to know that you need to do this, and the first steps?
So I think kind of two things. One is brave, which I'll come back to, but
Hmm.
in I think for me, like working with me and starting to put brand at that foundational place where it
Hmm.
belongs to drive long term
Yeah.
success. I mean, we're talking like
Hmm.
legacy, being around long enough to have that sort of impact. Um, again, it's starting with why. And
Yep.
this is like, I work with tiny baby startups all the way on up to enterprise, and the process is the same.
Yep.
Why are we here? Who are the humans that I can talk to? So whether it's the CEO or the founders or the product team or the customers, um, anywhere in between, the investors, anyone who has some sort of skin in the game, ask why.
Yep.
and look at the common threads. And that becomes the beginning of this brand and the messaging. And that's not just for the sake of having a brand book. I mean, that fuels sales conversations, that makes sales cycles shorter. It helps you speak to your customers in a way that they feel seen and heard, and that they're going to stick around longer and they're going to trust you more. So that's why it's important. And you're going to have a hard time finding anybody oppose you. Like, people won't oppose you if you're like, I want to talk to our customers and our stakeholders and, get data that's outside of my brain. Like, usually you'll get a thumbs up on that. So that's where I would start.
Yeah.
And start just documenting, looking for common threads, pulling together things that are like, hey, this is how we talk about what we talk about. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is our why. That looks a little bit different for everyone. That might be when you start to run into some roadblocks, which is when you can start implementing Brave. And honestly, just be like, hey, we're thinking this way. We're going to make sure everything's in alignment with these 5 things. If you get pushed back, be like, do what I do and say, let's talk about a time that something didn't work, and point to, see if you can work together to figure out which of those 5 things were where something went off the rails. And usually you'll start to get some buy-in. And then from there, you can start to kind of knock down some of the hurdles in the way of building a brand that can be foundational to the decisions that you make moving forward.
Excellent. Lindsay,
and you can work with me. Helpful. I'll help.
Yeah. Well, great. And that's my next question. So how do people find you?
Sometimes on stages. I do some of that, but I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. Also, I have a website, which is my name, lindsaytjepkema.com, but also Human Brands Win is a lot easier to spell than Lindsay Tjepkema. So you can find me either place. And then I have a show that is a little bit adjacent to all of this, that talks to founders and leaders about times that the world told them they couldn't do something and they did it anyway. And it's called Actually I Can. So have a little watch there too.
Excellent. And we will have all of that in the show notes. But Lindsay, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your expertise and sharing it with us and your time today. So thank you.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're struggling with flat or slowing revenue growth, you're not alone. That's why Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, brings you expert insights, actionable strategies, and real-world success stories to help you scale faster. So if you're serious about growth, search for us in your favorite podcast directory, hit follow, subscribe, and drop a 5-star rating. It helps us keep the game-changing content coming. New episodes drop regularly. Don't let your revenue growth strategy fall behind. We'll see you soon.